I'm Dexter Bradford. I'm an attorney here at Beresford Booth, and I specialize in business defense. And we're going to talk about what happens after you're the victim of a cybersecurity attack. So you're a business owner in Washington State. You've been hacked. There's a data leak. What do you do next? And why does this topic even matter? Well, first of all, according to the Identity Theft Resource Center in 2024, there were confirmed 3,205 cyber attacks that led to data compromises. That's about 8.7 per day. And this is just recorded cyber attacks. These are large scale cyber attacks that get recorded there. This doesn't count even the smaller and unrecorded cyber attacks that happen all the time. The estimates on number of cyber attacks facing business owners is astronomical. So the question is not whether or not you're going to be the victim of a cyber attack, it's when and how are you going to respond. They can have severe legal consequences if you're not prepared for them, and if you don't know what the law is. Thankfully, the law isn't too severe. There's not too much that you have to do, but it's really good to be aware of what you do need to do. So, step one, obviously, if you get a hack or you're subject to a cybersecurity attack, step one is to contain and assess. You need to stop the bleeding. You need to make sure that whatever the attack is or whatever the leak is contained. So work with your cybersecurity team, work with your IT team, whoever you need to stop the data breach, to stop the bleeding immediately, and get on the phone with your legal counsel and to assess exactly what happened. So you'll want to figure out exactly what went wrong, what could you do in the future to prevent what happened, and make sure it's not happening still. Then what are your legal obligations? What do you actually have to do as an employer or a business owner in Washington? Not too much. You basically need to just identify who was affected by the breach. If any data was leaked to or by of your employees or your customers, you need to notify them within 30 days of the breach. The notice is pretty simple. You need to notify them of what happened in plain English, essentially, and what steps you're taking to remedy the problem. You do have 30 days to get it out. If the breach affected over 500 Washington residents, you also have to notify the Attorney General. Anytime you're sending a notice to the Attorney General, again, work with your legal counsel to make sure that that notice complies. But in essence, your only legal obligation as soon as an attack has happened is really just to get this notice out and notify everyone. And so talking about what this notification actually requires, again, it's pretty simple. Steps that you're taking to protect the people, what actually happened. And I always recommend notifying, if it's your employees, your customers, that you're going to set them up with credit monitoring for the next year or so as a way to just make sure that they're not subject to a big hit to their credit score or anything like that, to give some sort of assurance that you're taking care of the problem is usually what I recommend. Now, when it comes to communication, I see often there's two big mistakes that people make. Number one is they communicate too quickly, or B, they're communicating too slow. So you want to be right in the Goldilocks zone. You want to be quick, but not too quick. The day that the breach happens, some people panic and they go, we need to tell everyone really, really quickly, and we need to get a message out immediately. And you don't really want to do that. You want to go through the steps. You want to assess what happened first, work with your legal team, and craft a message to send out. Remember, you've got 30 days to send out a message. I don't recommend taking the whole 30 days to send out a message, but don't send it out the second the data breach happens. You want to figure out what happened and work on crafting a message to the affected parties that is clear, transparent, and explains the process in a way that everyone will understand clearly. You also don't want to wait too long. You have legal obligation to get a letter out, so you want to make sure you're complying with that obligation. You also don't want to leave people in the dark, and you don't want to leave them sitting for too long. They'll likely figure out that there was a data breach, and they want to know what you're doing about it. So there's sort of a Goldilocks zone there. I always try and get a message out within the first week or so afterwards if this happens. But I recommend, taking a moment to craft it, and definitely not the day that the attack or the day after the attack happens. If you can avoid it, I recommend, again, working with your legal team to try and craft a well thought out message. You do also have a sort of a secondary legal obligation, and that obligation is to actually have some sort of data security setup. If you're a company and you're dealing with people's data, you have people's information, you store that in your within your company's servers or anywhere online, you do have an obligation to have some sort of cybersecurity or cyber protection from a theft of people's sensitive personal information. If you have none whatsoever, or you're negligently handling people's sensitive data or personal information, you could be subject to a lawsuit, which is again why I always recommend people work with their counsel before sending out a message. You want to make sure that message doesn't incriminate yourself in any way. So other steps you can take to avoid the cybersecurity attacks, you've probably heard them before, but change your passwords often. Make sure that everybody is set up on multi-factor authentication. Train your employees on phishing attacks. Phishing attacks are one of the most common ways that people trip up and accidentally leak data. And they're very avoidable if you ever train everyone on how to recognize them. People get better and craftier with how they go about these attacks, but simple 10-minute, 15-minute trainings can go a long way in preventing big data breaches. So, I mean, the key takeaways, really you want to stay, like I said, in that Goldilocks zone, assess what happens, take your time in crafting a message, working with your legal team to make sure that you're not in violation of any laws, but work fast enough to get a message out to your people so that they're not sitting and wondering what happened. If you don't have any cybersecurity or any data leak preventions set up within your company, you're going to want to get that set up immediately and work with your legal team to make sure that the message that you're crafting is exactly clear enough to comply with the statute, it's on time, and that it's saying clearly what you want it to say. If you have any other questions, myself or anyone else at the firm would be happy to assist you with these. Again, I do business defense, so I deal with issues like this all the time. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to give us a call.